All right, here we are. Good evening, Canyon Lakers. My name is Jeremy Smith. I'm your council member here in the city of Canyon Lake, and I'm here with Jim Randle. He's running for city council. We got an upcoming election, as most of you know, November 3rd. He's one of 5 that's going to be on the ballot. We're going to talk a little bit about why he decided to run for city council, ask him a couple questions on some of the local issues that we're dealing with here in the community. If you have questions during the stream, please feel free to add those questions. This is live and I can see them come in. But let's start off with a little bit about yourself, why you decided to run, your background. Let the people know.
Okay, I actually grew up in East Long Beach and migrated to the center of Long Beach, a little town called Signal Hill. About the same size as this town. Doesn't have a lake in the middle of it, but we had a lot of oil wells and what have you. I can't remember, it was 86 or 88. My dad called me and said, hey, there's some guys that want to talk to you. My dad had been a council member there, what have you, so I said, okay, I'll come over to the house. So a couple of councilmen came over and some other people, and they said, we want you to run for city council. Can't do it, guys. I was just starting a family. I did a lot of county work. You know what that, you're eliminated from that part of the business, and I had calculated up, it was like $96,000 a year back then. That was good money, right? So I had to turn them down. Since then, I've moved on and I ended up here. Well, I finally got to a point after my years with the chamber, 3 years as president, 5 years as the liaison with the city, and I was asked. My first response was no. Then I thought about it, and I decided, it's like now or never. Get it done, do it, and I just felt right about it. And, for lack of better words, though, that's the reason I'm doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wish I could have done it when I was younger like you.
Right.
I don't feel bad about doing it at this point in my life. There's less restrictions. And I think I can do a good job for the city. One thing people find out about me, everyone should be involved. You're not going to satisfy everybody, but a lot of guys say, well, if you get 51, 52%, you're doing good. No, you gotta get 60 or 70%. Because you're always gonna have the dissenters no matter what you're not gonna like what we're doing or what have you. But if you can pull 60 or 70% of the population, you're pretty secure in what you're doing.
Canyon Lake has gone through so many changes over the last 10 to 12 years, especially when you're dealing with the different type of demographics of the community. If elected to the city council, how will you take the approach of the changing, that is taking place here in the community with the families that are now coming in? The POA is adapting. They're doing more parks. They're doing more exercise equipment. If elected to the city council, how will you take that vision and put that forward as a council member?
Well, in anything the council does, everybody matters, in my opinion. I have a neighbor, 82, 83 years old. Can't leave her house. I've never met the woman. I've talked to her on the phone. Sounds like a sweetheart. We're involved in a deal with the POA on a dock and what have you. And I feel sorry for her that she can't get out anymore because of COVID.
Right.
And so she calls me, because she didn't have a computer or anything. She calls me and says, okay, what's going on? And I'll give her the rundown on, what have you. It's those people, the young families, yeah, they have to be protected, but at the same time, those elderly people have to be protected too. Probably more than the young families. And we still have them.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think many of them are going to go anywhere anytime soon. So one of my talks I gave, I mentioned that we have to do something that's fair and equitable to all. But the demographics here that you brought up are changing, and it's a whole different world out there. But I think there's a solution by approaching the demographics and make it equitable for everyone.
Right. one of the other questions that was submitted in regards to public safety, and you commented a little bit about, making sure that public safety is a priority, not only in your campaign, but also moving forward in the city. Talk a little bit about your vision for public safety and maybe some of your experience and how, if elected, you would be involved in that side of it.
Okay. I've actually left part of my experience out of my bio, personal reasons, but I was a big supporter of Signal Hill Honorary Police Officers Association in the 80s. I was also the chairman of the Crime Stoppers there. And we don't have a lot of crime here. I mean, if you want to see crime, I can show you crime.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But we don't have a lot of it. Why should we let ourselves be vulnerable to it? And one of the things I've heard discussed in the city council meeting is going forward and leaving the sheriff and going to Menifee, where I really have hope that that happens. In the 70s, they started community policing. You can't do it with the sheriff's department. There's too much of a rotation on personnel with stations. When you have a city police, they're not really changing too quick. So the city police get to know who's in the community, who's doing what, and believe it or not, those people open up to the officers, and it makes their job a little easier because now they're finding out things that they don't have to go look for.
Right.
It's already there, and they can act on it, hopefully before something happens. There's a lot of times that, and I must say, by going to the Elsinore substation, I find it much better than when we're getting connected out of Paris. In fact, I got to tell a quick story. I have a yard on Highway 74 towards Paris. I was coming home one day. Our officer sitting out at Greenwald and 74 running a speed trap.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, how's this helping us?
Right.
So, anyhow, I just feel very strong about it that we need to be proactive and not get ourselves in a position where we allow it to come into our society. Now's the time to keep it out since it's so low.
Right.
You're not going to get away with none of it.
Right.
It's going to happen. But if we can limit it and make it where we can deal with it, I'm all for it.
I think that's perfect for our next question, which I'm going to ask. I've asked all the candidates. Marijuana. It's been discussed. It's been talked about. It's actually going to be coming up to the city council meeting in November. We're going to be discussing it, and then we're going to probably do a special meeting in November to vote on whether or not we are going to allow dispensaries in the city of Canyon Lake, more so the town center. Where's your stance on that? Your opinion on it. I know you've heard some of the other candidates, but feel free to use the time to talk a little bit about your insight on it.
Well, I talked to Chris Mann, and he told me how you guys were going about evaluating, and it's a process that the consultant does.
Right.
Okay. That's huge, because hopefully they got enough insight. A lot of guys get into the dispensary business because it's cash, right? The problem with it is, and I'll give a little background, is my wife's a tax accountant, okay? The IRS rewrote the tax laws for cannabis. It's not what you write off on your business or what I could write off on my business. It's a whole new... You could make $20,000 and owe $40,000 in taxes. That's how bad it is. But there's ways of structuring it. There's a big case right now out of Colorado that's probably going to go to the Supreme Court. They're arguing it now. People don't know. My wife has sat in on virtual seminars on this subject, and it's tough. I mean, it's like the right hand's not really sure what the left hand's doing just to keep the money coming.
Right.
And I don't know that now's a good time to do it. And one thing you brought up, our demographics are changing. There are younger families. they have kids. We get kids in the town center. Security is a big deal. So I don't know that right now is the time for it. You know, I mean, I'd love for someone to prove me wrong, but you have to be educated in it, know what you're dealing with at all times, and if you're not, you're open today, gone tomorrow.
Right.
You got it in?
Yeah.
I think, you know, one of the big things too is looking at our small city. You know, the whole conversation with marijuana was tax revenue, but I think you answered it. I think you answered it perfectly, and you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done before we make a decision. But moving along, I talk about tax revenue because development is talked about throughout the community. Whether it's you're looking at the BLM land, you're looking at over there with, you know, the horses and that community and some of that. And I know you have some. You've been around the community a long time, and you have some insight working with the chambers. How do you feel about the potential of development or looking at that land and maybe turning it into something different? What's your stance on that with some of your backgrounds and what you've done?
One of the ideas that I heard was by the jump lane, where the BLM land comes up, and it was discussed of maybe putting an all-exclusive resort in. And I know a lot of people, oh no, we don't want more people in the lake and what have you. What I have found in my world travels is you go to an all-exclusive resort, you really don't leave it. Because that's what you're paying the money for. Now, as an outsider living in the community trying to get in, that shouldn't be allowed either. I mean, the people are spending that money for the idea of having everything to themselves. You know, and then on that take, I would think that would be a great use of that property, because you get the easement coming off of Greenwald, what have you. You don't have to travel through the lake to get there.
Right.
So I wasn't too hip on the rough deal that a consultant did for the jump lake or the North Lake. I don't think that's a good use. I think you could do something like the estate, but not have so much bare land
Right.
involved in it.
Right.
But make it an upscale, and it doesn't have to be part of the POA. You know, that's up to the POA. That's not a city function. POA is going to be A and A.
Right.
And that's why, you know, to be honest with you, I've studied a little bit of the history of Canyon Lake, and I was surprised that in 1990 what was available as far as for future development,
Right.
and how much they shied away. They just wanted to protect the lake. Well, you can have a private community in a city
Right.
that has other properties, and I think it would change our tax. You know, would have changed our tax base, you know, a lot better than what it is, and not be in the position we're in.
Right. I think that leads to the next question, which was been asked by a few people, and you might have heard me ask other candidates this idea of we're about ready to celebrate 30 years as a city. Do you think that we should still be a city moving
Yes.
forward? 100%.
100%.
Talk a little bit about why that is and the importance of it.
A couple things. It's very expensive to not be a city, or to get to that position. I had a conversation with a supervisor, and I'm going to quote his words: "The county can't afford to have it fail." You know, and protecting what's built around us. You know, some people kind of boo-hoo that a little bit. It's huge. You know, I've seen it in other towns where they didn't control it, and it wasn't a good outcome.
Right.
We got horse properties backed up to people that want the swimming pools, and you know, it just doesn't.
Right. So, you know, we're here. We got a boat ramp right behind us.
What a great view!
What a great view! We got a phenomenal view, and you know, this whole idea of interviewing each candidate has been so exciting because we've been able to go to so many different parts of the community. You know, we started out with the fire station, and then we went to the pickleball court. From there, we went to our town center, and then we went to the lodge, and now here we are at one of our boat ramps, and it's a beautiful park. I know when I spoke to you to set this up, We talked a little bit about how not only amazing Canyon Lake is, but how we have so many different amenities. So in conclusion, we're going to let you wrap it up on why people should vote for you. But first, ask one more question to you that was asked to me by one of our residents. How do you see the city continuing to be involved in this amazing community that we do have when it overlays with the POA? So in simpler terms, how, if you elected, are you going to work with the POA to make things keep moving forward and enjoy what we have?
Jeremy, one of the greatest times I saw was when we started having the joint meetings with the POA. Unfortunately, the Brown Act is kind of blocking you a little bit on that. But open discussion is better than sitting back and not doing anything. I might not like everything you say, you won't like everything I say, but at least it's out in the open.
Absolutely.
And everyone can form an opinion based on what they hear. Now, if you say something and all of a sudden someone goes, well, you said this, but you're doing this, you got to defend yourself. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You know, and people do change their minds.
Absolutely.
But the city and the POA, on every level, my own personal feeling, they need to get together to be able to make it. I go back to what I said in the open. You have to include everybody, but you don't have to have 100%.
Right.
But don't give me 51%.
Give me 30 seconds on why Canyon Lakers should vote for you in the upcoming election.
My time spent with small business here, I used to do 8 states in 5 days for work. Saw a lot of the country, small towns, whatever. This city has the potential to be I'll go back when I was president of the chamber. Someone says, oh, we're the center. I said, no, we're not. We're the hub. Don't degrade yourself.
Right.
Make yourself the hub. Because you got Elster on one side, Menifee on the other side, you got Paris over here. Be the hub. Be the one that brings everybody together to have better communities.
Right.
And I don't think it's impossible to do. Of course, a lot of things I don't think it's possible to do, but I get proven wrong sometimes.
Right.
But no, I really do. I think there's enough there for everybody. I think that we need to don't look in a tunnel vision, out of the box. Let's see what works. What do people want? Number one. Is it achievable? Number two. Can we afford it?
Right.
Number three. And I've always felt if everyone works together, nothing's impossible. So I really wish everyone vote for me November 3rd, 1 out of 3.
Yep.
That's all I ask for.
I love it. Again, election coming up. Ballots should be coming to the mailbox very soon. If you have any questions, you can call the city, you can call me, and we'll walk you through it. And he's on the ballot. You'll have an opportunity to vote for him. And if you have any questions, you can send them to me. I'll send them to him, or you can get him directly on his Facebook page. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for participating, for viewing the videos. Of course.
Jeremy and Donna, thank you too.
Oh, appreciate that. You know, for us, and thank you for saying that, because we wanted to try to bring something to the community because of COVID. Mm-hmm. It's not the same, which is why Donna and I wanted to meet with each candidate and do something so people can get to know you guys.
Sure.
You know, we get a chance to vote for you. We want to know who you are. But again, any questions that you might have, please present them to us. We'll make sure we get them to the candidates. I can't thank each and every one of you enough for tuning in and getting to see who you get to vote for in the upcoming election. Thank you so much.
Thank you.